levels of training. Understand I'm going to start way up in the clouds at 30,000 foot view, looking down, and we're going to drill down and get closer and closer to the meat and potatoes of things. Within governing agencies that we work under is the NFPA, and they define different levels of training. And there's an awareness level of training, and that's your first shot out of the gate. Then we look at an technician's level, and then an operator's level. What we're going to do tonight is going to give you guys kind of an awareness level of training, so it kind of gets you started with some things. The reason we're here, we've had some issues in the past that we're working to, and we've done very well in avoiding them since. What we want to do is make sure that everybody that's on the water knows why we're here, knows what to look for, and understands how to react to a situation. We've had some case in the past where the water didn't cooperate like we wanted it to, and we had much more water, much more current and flow than we needed to. We actually had to pull swimmers out of the water and actually stop any more swimmers getting in because it was just too hazardous. Our main reason for being in the water Saturday is to make a really good event even better. We're here in support of, sure, the organizers, but we're here for those participants to make sure that they are getting the best race that they can. And if they need assistance, that's what we're here to provide. And that can be encouraging them as they're swimming by. That does a lot of good for them. But it also can be giving them a little bit of safe harbor if they have jumped in, if they're trying this for the first time and realize that they have probably overestimated their abilities and underestimated the water. I've personally done that. But offering them, giving them a spot to come over, grab your boat, potentially hang on for some minutes, just catch their breath, because that is well within the rules of this race. Now, what you can't do is let them come up and you paddle and move them. But if you stay on station, give them a spot to rest. You are going to be the front line or the first line of assistance if somebody needs help. Your eyes and ears being on the water in the middle of these participants gives you a perspective that I'm not going to have trying to spot from the doctors over here. So you guys are who we depend on to watch out for any and everything that can potentially happen. Years past, we've had a few people that struggled a little bit, and we've been very fortunate that we haven't had incidents. Our goal is to keep that. But if you do see something, act. Don't be shy. We'll get into some reasons on that here in just a minute. Another one of your roles in Saturday is to assist in a rescue. Potentially, you could be the one that pulls off a rescue. And it could be something as simple and innocent as telling one of the participants, hey, do me a favor, just grab hold of it for a second. If they could be in distress, they're not thinking straight. You offer them some advice. Your voice in talking to them can recenter their focus. You give them a place to hang out for just a minute. Next thing you know, they're fine. You've avoided a problem before it ever actually became a problem. So aiding in that rescue if things do escalate, we'll go into that here in just a minute as well. Bottom line is you're here also to support each other in this role. We're not out there solo. There's going to be at least 15 paddlers on the water Saturday morning. So we're all going to be working and coordinating with each other. In support of you guys, you will also see some other resources from the city on the water as well. That we'll go into here shortly. In the world of public safety, we teach and work off of a very specific hierarchy. And that is those that are on scene, who is the most important. Number one, top of the food chain as far as you're concerned, when it comes to working an event like this, who is the most important person? Participants. Okay. Anybody else want to throw a guess out at it? The most most important person there, whether or not there's 10 people or there's 1,000 people in the event, the most important person there is you. Period of the story. So you're gonna make sure that you do whatever you have to do to stay as safe as possible and take care of yourself. Because if you put yourself in a trick or an awkward situation, you're in no position to help somebody else. So you are top of that food chain. Okay, so let's take one rung down that ladder. Who's next in that hierarchy? Your coworkers, or in this case, your fellow paddlers. If you guys aren't taking care of each other, how can you build participants? So that's the reasoning behind it. And last but not least, is in this case it'll be the participants. On my side of the fence, it's the person that did something that they probably should not have done that got us on scene. But nonetheless, it's something that they probably should have to begin with. So, but again, so that safety hierarchy, you're at the top of that food chain. So make sure you're taking care of yourselves. And then this Saturday morning, that's going to include making sure that you've had enough rest the night before, making sure you're hydrated and stay hydrated through the course of the event. Something that I'm pointing out in some of my dive classes that people don't realize, anybody venture a guess as to what the number one dive or scuba related injury is? And I ask the question because we'll have to contend with you guys Saturday morning. Sunburn. So make sure that you've got ample sunscreen. Because, I'm the type that I can walk under a light bulb and get sunburned. So I've got to make sure that my wife screams at me all the time. You aren't wearing your sunscreen, were you? Yeah. No, that's a lie. So make sure that you're taking care of yourselves on that. All right. Any questions up at this point? Excellent. Let's look at, kind of drilling down a little bit further, let's look at the equipment that everybody really should have in this role. And again, it comes down to taking care of yourself, so you're taking care of the participants. Number one, without any exception for this type of event, is going to be an adequate life jacket. We always wear a class 5. Reason being, we go to that extent is it offers additional buoyancy in the event. Sure, it's going to keep me at the surface, but if I'm also with my victim or patient, depending on the situation, that I've got enough flotation to manage both of us. So that's why we go with full class 5. Recommended for this type of event for the roles that you guys are going to be in is going to be a class 3. Make sure that it's definitely to that level. Now, the type of jacket that I would say you want to avoid, they're a lot more comfortable, and I wear one in certain applications, certain situations. But for this, you don't want to actually have to use it because it becomes an issue. And that's the lighter weight, kind of the suspender style that inflate. They're a lot cooler and a lot more comfortable. But for this, for what we're going to be in Saturday morning, really not that practical. Make sure that your life jacket is not just in the boat with you, but make sure that it's going to be, that's a rule that we are going to hold very steadfast. Next up, for this type of event, I'm pulling away on their use because it can offer up this kind of present something in the water we don't want, but using a rifle approach to it in mentality versus a shotgun approach is going to throw that. Great if you've got a victim in the water and getting them a lifeline, but when we've got potentially 1,000 people in the water for this event, throwing one of these in the middle of that is going to, you've got one rope going to one paddler in a kayak, potentially 8 to 10 people hanging off of one line. That's tension in the water that kayaker cannot compensate for. We cannot manage. So, if you feel like you need to use a throw bag and have experience with it, then use it. But understand that it's going to be a little bit kind of a sticky situation once that line goes out. Anybody actually use one of these or have one of these for their boat, their kit? Typically, when I'm teaching Swiftwater, our expression on this, if you can grab one, you can grab two. You can't have enough of these on hand. But given this environment where, Faye, tell me again, roughly 1,000
Swimmers?
participants?
Yeah, so I think we're gonna have probably about 300 to 350 in the long course and 650 to 700 in the short course.
Okay. So, choose this tool wisely. If you need it, by all means use it, but just understand the situation you're getting into. For me, a piece of equipment that, again, is not up for negotiation, and it comes down to the ability to communicate, is a whistle. When you're down on the water is louder than you think. Crowd noises is up. Our two-way radios, in some cases, we can't understand them. By the time we get them turned up loud enough, they're distorted, so they're almost useless. Simple whistle blows are fantastic for this type of event. The key to this is paying attention to them. If you hear just a single short blast, that's typically me or one of our other spotters on the dock over here trying to get one of the paddlers' attention to point something out that they may not have seen yet. Should you hear one really long whistle blast or 3 blasts, that means something just got real. Typically, the 3 blast is the sign for emergency. So pay close attention to that. We had some issues last year where a spotter was trying to get the attention and they never acknowledged the whistle was being blown. So if you hear a short blast, the thing to do is just look in that general direction. If you look over and you see one of us standing on the dock and we're not pointing at you, we're probably trying to get somebody else. But it's pretty obvious that if I'm trying to get your attention and I get one blast, I'm usually going to be looking at you doing this right here. And you know that I'm looking at you, I'm trying to get your attention. Likewise, if you're out on the water, don't be shy about it. If you need a spotter's attention or you need another paddler's attention, one quick blast is something you need to do to get their attention. Don't be shy. By any means, don't be shy. So make sure that at a minimum, a good sturdy PFD and a whistle. We'll go into some procedural things to get the signals, otherwise here in just a minute. I will also say for kayakers, if you have a sit-in style kayak, or a whitewater, play boat, creeker, it does not matter, and you have a skirt, I'm going to suggest that you put the skirt on and wear that for the event as well. We'll get into some reasons why here in just a little bit. And it comes down to your safety, your personal safety will be anything. So, any questions on gear? Okay. PFD class 3 at a minimum is highly suggested for this. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about kind of the ugly side of things. What you're going to see is 1,000 people roughly get into the water, and we'll point out the course to you guys here in just a minute. We've got longer course on the intermediate swimmers and then the sprinters. Your intermediate swimmers are typically, they're the ones that are prepared for this. You know, they know that the event was coming, they've been planning. You know, unlike me, they've gotten up off the couch and gotten ready for the event and training. Your sprinters, however, are a lot of first timers, a lot of people that maybe at the last minute will decide, hey, this is something I want to do. And that's usually who we see some issues out of. Last year we had a couple swimmers that they finally completed the event, but they did so with essentially a chase boat within a few feet of them, with a rescue swimmer geared up, doing this because we thought we were going to have to splash. Well, when she started to go under, was able to recover and shift gears mentally, and she finished the event. So, in talking about that specifically, she wasn't screaming, she wasn't yelling, she just got very quiet. And so, when you look at, again, the ugly side of what we're here to prevent, that's somebody from drowning. The act of drowning is very subtle. It's typically not a very violent act at all, but it's certainly very quiet. People just stop responding. which is another good reason for, as support on the water, you're encouraging those swimmers. Because 9 times out of 10, when you look at the swimmers going by, hey, keep it up, good job, you're doing great, it's human nature for them to answer and acknowledge, hey, thanks. If you don't see that, keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on that person, because they may just be in the zone and just, hey, leave me alone. I've got my time I'm trying to hit here. Or they could be in the process of kind of spacing out. Unfortunately, drowning is not an overly obvious act at all. It usually happens. People realize that for a fact. Hey, wait a second. I thought they were going to come up. They haven't been up for a minute and a half now. So, watching those participants, usually you can see what, from the time they start, the time they hit the water, it doesn't take them very long to get into, to kind of get into their groove, to hit that pace. If you see somebody struggling, those that are up at the start, if you see somebody go in and they're flying, I mean, it's just they're all out going for it. More than likely, they don't have a lot of experience, and you're going to see them burn out pretty quick. Those are also people to watch. Those that are very comfortable and relaxed and usually very methodical, they're going to do just fine. But it's those that have maybe some first timers that are getting in. So just, again, keep your eye on the participants as they're going by. And again, most people, when they witness drownings, don't realize what they just saw. It's not until after the fact, when they start replaying things, that it starts to, the reality hits them. So again, kind of the ugly side of what we need to be watching for, but by all means, keep your eyes and ears open for that. And don't be shy, nor hesitate in sounding off. I think I've got an issue. We'll get you some, you'll get plenty of them as quick as we can. Again, let's talk about communication. Encourage those participants. Cheer them on. That gives you some feedback 9 times out of 10. If you're yelling at a participant, let's make sure we're encouraging them. We're there to support them and to help them, and again, make this event for them as good as possible. Earlier I mentioned those whistle signals. One short blast is, it can be a question. It can be just be, spotter trying to get your attention. It can be trying to get my attention. It can be a question and an answer. If I have one whistle blast, you'll see me a lot of times just from instinct from diving. I think you said you're in got some dive training. You're used to seeing that right there. What is that? What is this? Just be patting my head.
That means that.
Question and answer.
Right.
If I'm at a distance and I'm pointing to you, I'm asking, are you okay? And so what do I expect to see back? Yeah, I'm fine. Or yeah, 2 on, it's the same. So question and answer 2. So you'll see that, I'm sure. But if you hear that one really long, steady blast, or 3 whistle blasts, at that point, we need to start focusing on exactly where that's coming from. Because there is a problem that somebody is trying to get our attention to tell us about. If you are out on the river and you see an issue that you can't get to resolve, or you have taken your partner, because everybody's going to be working in at least pairs, your partner is going straight into it, whistle blast. But also, if we look up and we see somebody waving their paddle overhead, I'm going to take that as a sign of distress, and we're going to act on it. So whistle blast, paddles overhead, waving them. I know a lot of times kayakers, raising a paddle to get somebody's attention, that's done. I get it, but if we see movement, we see that paddle really moving, then we're going to move to it as quick as possible. It'll come back to me, hopefully. So anybody have any questions or observations? I'm a big fan of war stories, as long as they're relevant. So that the relevancy is key there. lifeguards, former lifeguards? Anybody with any lifeguard training? All right.
7 years ago.
It counts, believe me. There is a progression that is taught from lifeguarding. It's taught in every swiftwater rescue class I've ever either taken or taught. And that is kind of, you start off conservative and through kind of they call it a risk-benefit analysis. I'm gonna look at the situation. And is the risk I'm gonna take worth the benefit back from that? Well, that kind of defines our reaction to the situation. And it's reach, throw, row, and go. So the most conservative is reaching out. You know, if I'm gonna physically reach out with my hand, or I'm gonna take my paddle, or I'll look at a piece of 204, pick that up, and I try to get that to my victim, that's usually the most conservative. If that doesn't work, my next option is to throw. I'm not gonna throw a brick at them. I'm gonna throw something they can use. Throw bag, modified throw bags. We've got a line gun that we can use. It's got a 200-foot section of rescue line in it that I could shoot out into the river with an inflatable ring at the end of it. So it hits the river, it inflates. Not only do they have a line, they've got an inflatable ring that they can hold on to. It's just a modified throw rescue. So let's look at the next option, row. Because that's what we're already going to be in the position of on Saturday. We've kind of foregone the rest of, the first two options, because we're not on the shoreline. We're out in the water with these people. So as you're rowing, understand your own abilities and be sure that you're operating kind of within that. If you're comfortable in the water, fantastic. Little hesitancy there, maybe your partner, you back up your partner if there is a situation. Last but not least, the go rescue, and that is no boat, no throw bag. I'm physically jumping into the water and going after that. So let's kind of discuss the specific plan for Saturday so you understand not only what you're doing, but what is going to be in place to support you. You guys are our front line. You're going to be right here with these participants. But also staged in several spots along the course are going to be fire department boat and OEM boats. And on each boat, we're going to have a boat operator. We're going to have somebody that's going to act in a support capacity, and we're going to have a rescue swimmer. So if something gets to that point, not only can we bring the boats into you, we can deploy a rescue swimmer to go to the home. The next step past that, there's some more specifics we'll talk about that, kind of our last topic here. We will have a handful of divers on scene that can dive if needed. I trust you guys are not going to let anything get to that point. But know that those resources are going to be backing you in what you're doing with your immediate contact with the participants here. I'm trying to actually go through this quick, which is a good thing. Any questions about that progression? The reach, throw, row, go?
Yeah, so
Yes, sir.
first of all, I apologize for being late, but regarding that progression, so if you come along somebody who is needing some help, is it give them some help or blow the whistle and have somebody?
It's going to depend on the nature, if they have the ability to call you for help, that tells me they're probably in better shape than they think. Offer whatever assistance you can. Paddle over to them and offer your boat as kind of safe harbor for just a moment. And that question could not be any better time for the next topic we're going into.
So if we're paddling out with someone, do we need to, what about the other swimmer?
Well, you want to make sure that you're approaching them safely. You want to make sure that you're not running over other participants. More often than not, if somebody they still have the mental acuity to realize, I need a little help here, they will remove themselves from the pack and actually come towards you, which is great because now there's a separation between you and those 1,000 swimmers. They kind of get out of that pack and come over to you. But the kind of the thinking here is you get in as close as you getting back to your wonderful question, and, you know, excellent transition into what we're getting ready to talk about is kind of in the water. What do you want to do, and how's the best way to approach? We talked about that a second ago. But what you're offering that participant your boat and essentially yourself as a way to give them a break. And you want to make sure you're doing that safely. You want to make sure that it's safe for you, number one, and second, you're getting it taken care of, and it's done safely, and you're offering them a stable platform, and that's key. When I say stable, that's more for you. They're already in the water, but you want to make sure that if they're struggling and having an issue, where do you want them on your boat? Either front or back. That offers distance between you and them physically. So if they are panicky, they're not trying to climb you. The last place that you want them to approach is on either immediate side. Because that, if they come up and grab the side of your kayak, that's going to put you off balance, and that's the most unstable point that they can approach you. Potentially, when we've got one victim, we don't want their actions to create a second. So make sure that you, coming up to them and approaching them, offer them the front of the boat, hang on to, or the back of it. Definitely let them rest front or back. You want to do everything you can do to hold that position. And when I say that, it kind of goes to the rules of the race. You don't want them to swim over, grab a hold of the boat, and you paddle halfway to the finish line. You know, try to hold your position in the river as much as you can. The rules have no problem with that at all, as long as it's not an advantage for that participant. If it's to the point where you feel it's necessary to transport or move that person, have them move from the front of the boat to the back of the boat. Hang on to the back of the boat, and then as you paddle, it's going to bring their body to the surface, kind of be as streamlined as possible. I can tell you from personal experience, it's awkward. It's going to throw your boat off balance, and you're going to have to work at it. That added tension in the water of having that person back there is something you really have to work against. I would prefer that if you realize I've got a participant that's having a problem and we need to get them removed from the water, you get the attention of one of the spotters, you get the attention of one of the boats that's closest to you, have them come over to you and transfer them into that boat.
And to get their attention,
Good blast with the whistle. Wave that paddle overhead. The crews that are in the boats are going to know to listen for those whistle blasts and look for those that paddle signal with your paddle. Because they may be spotting for us as well. So if you hear that quick blast, just kind of glance over and figure out where it's coming from, and then work off of that. Any questions on that? Again, I mentioned earlier, talking about some of the equipment. If you're in a sit-in style kayak with a skirt, this is the reason it's important to go ahead and wear that skirt. Because if they do come up from the side, they're not going to pull you in and swamp your boat immediately. That's going to give you the ability to kind of recover from that and not have a boat that's now flooded. Potentially a situation that we have to deal with.
So you mentioned kayaks. Do you encourage, or is anybody using paddleboard?
We've had them used in the past, and they've worked out great. It comes down to the individual ability of that paddle. You know, if I'll talk about some of the weaker candidates we've had in the past. Situation a few years ago that kind of spurred the reason we're here tonight, and that is kind of some awareness training. Is unfortunately the flow in the river was more than the swimmers could compensate for, and ultimately that day we pulled everybody out of the river and stopped the swimming event completely. But in the heat of things, when it was going pretty bad, we had observers, people that were here cheering on their loved ones over at Riverfront Park, calling 911 saying, I just saw somebody go in the water, they haven't come back up. I mean, it was that, it got to that point. We had volunteer paddlers out chatting with another paddler, with a situation 20 yards in front of them that they didn't see. On top of that, they were not reacting to the whistle blows of a spotter trying to get their attention and point out, go to them. So here we are tonight. So that's why we're doing this. So help answer the question.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And I'm really good at rambling. I feel like I've done that. And at any point there's questions, please ask. Have I covered that okay in your minds to a good extent?
So who's paddled here before?
I'm sorry?
Stopped out before, paddled in the river.
Yeah, sorry, I'm about half deaf.
Who has actually paddled out here before during the event? You have, when you're trying to hold your position, how hard is it to make?
It's not, well,
No big deal.
depends on the generation schedule and stuff coming from upstream, but last year it wasn't a problem.
It feels like flat water. Like, you have to roll your boat to like feel any current. Like,
Cause I know.
especially in an SUV, like, yeah.
Swim and then there's a
So
decent
we
challenge.
sat in a meeting just a little while ago with a representative of Corps of Engineers. And we were assured that everybody that needs to be paying attention to this event is. And that's those that have the ability to open and close Old Hickory Dam. And that's key for us. And they have guaranteed us that we will have a good window this year where they close everything down to it early enough that by the time that this event starts, this will be as serene as it possibly can be. The problem we had before was they weren't paying attention. You know, it wasn't an issue for them, and we had a whole lot of rain. Now, say Thursday, Friday, we get a ton of rain, then we're gonna have a problem Saturday night. But that's not
We'll know about
anticipated.
it.
Oh, yeah.
We'll plan for it.
Exactly. That is not anticipated for our specific event Saturday morning. So things are actually looking very well for us Saturday morning. So holding station is not going to be too much of an issue unless you end up with a participant hanging onto your boat. And then things get kind of off balance and off kilter. So, but going back to your original question, we've had kayakers, we've had canoers, and we've had paddleboarders. And again, it comes down to their ability. We had one lady that was on a competition level paddleboard, and she was running circles around everybody else. So she did a great job. Anybody have any questions at this point?
I think, I don't know if we talked about, but how many paddlers are we going to have?
We will have a total of 15
Okay.
Saturday morning.
So spacing will be a problem,
So what we'll do is, and we've got you guys that are here tonight, and has everybody signed the roster, the sign-in sheet? Beautiful. Hey, that's yours.
This is mine.
Just put that in with your archive records there. What we will do is we will have you guys line up on one side, and those that weren't able to make it, we're gonna pair you up with one of them. So everybody's kind of, if we don't have anybody that's totally inexperienced, or in this case, untrained with working together, so everybody's gonna have some level of awareness, Saturday morning. Okay, so, everybody's got a map of the actual course. I'm gonna push pause for just a second. If you will be looking opportunity,
Do we still need extra paddlers to try to recruit last minute, or?
We should be in good shape
We're good-
at
we're
this
good?
point, yeah. But others are still welcome. We've got room for more if you know somebody.
okay, so I need to talk about the dark side of things. Earlier, kind of brought up some of the things to look for, the signs of somebody in the act of drowning. So let's kind of cross that threshold for just a second. And let's talk about if we're in a situation where we're dealing with an advanced rescue. what do we need you guys to do? When it comes to a victim going subsurface, the most valuable thing to that operation at that point is their last scene. If we can have the luxury of somebody saying, I saw them go underwater right there, I have no doubt right here is where they're at. That's what we're looking for. Having that last scene point is absolutely critical to getting them out as quickly as possible. I have had dives in the past where the victim went subsurface and doing witness interviews. The best information we were able to get was it was out there. That's a bad day. That's a horrible day. Because at that point, it kicks into a long-term operation where we've got to bring in sonar units, we've got to bring in canines, and that takes time. And when our victim is subsurface, time is one thing we don't have a lot of. I've also had dive operations where I get on scene, fortunately, pretty quick, and I have an eyewitness that said, right there, minute and a half dive, down and up, like that. So that last scene point is vital. And understand that perspectives on the water change because of the water. So a tool that we recommend using for eyewitnesses, whether they realize or not at the time, is the use of a reference point. And understanding where I am physically standing. And okay, I saw the victim go down right there. I looked up and oh, you see that piling over there? That was right there. So our victim they're in line with this right here. So now I've got kind of a fixed point to work with. If I'm able to have the luxury of a second eyewitness that may be right here, yeah, I saw him go down and yeah, that ladder. Well, all of a sudden now I've got two fixed points that intersect. Guess where our last scene point is more than likely to be? Right there. So having your wits and keeping your wits and understanding what you're seeing happen as it happens is critical. Another valuable thing that we need in an advanced rescue situation is for you to be the best witness you can be. Try to mentally hang on to as much as you possibly can. And understand that in that type of a scenario or an event, some pieces of information may not come back until you get home. It's that natural reaction that we all have mentally. We try to compartmentalize things that happen that are bad, and this is no different. So try to remember as much as you can, because what's going to happen is we don't have somebody that's saying, right there, you can expect a handful of interviews from guys like me. Could be the police, could be guys with the blue lights, could be, in my case, guys with the red lights. And they may be asking the same question over and over. But understand there's a method to it. So try to be the best witness you can possibly be in that situation. If needed, be prepared to assist. It's kind of like when you are flying on vacation, you get on the plane, and they're giving you that safety briefing. Part of that briefing is, folks, for you guys that are sitting over the wings, you'll notice that there's some emergency exits over there. You're going to be expected to assist if there's a problem. And we understand that you may not be comfortable with that. And if so, let's get you swapped out with maybe somebody that is. This is no different. Exact mentality here. If you're not comfortable in that situation, in being hands-on and assisting, and believe me, it will be at the direction of somebody. I'm going to understand that. I respect those that are willing to remove themselves as much or more from those that try to run head first into the situation. Because they've got the wherewithal to realize it's outside my depth here. I don't need to make that situation worse. So if you are willing and able, pretty good chance we're going to welcome the assistance. Now, there will come a point where we say, okay, everybody out of the pool, it's our show, our show. Trust me, you'll understand, you'll know if and when that happens. But up to that point, be prepared to assist if you are comfortable. Let me address something to that end. The state of Tennessee has got very liberal Good Samaritan laws. So if you act up to and within your training, even as a volunteer paddler at an event such as this, you know, Lord, you know, God forbid somebody try to sue you over it. Tennessee has got very strong laws that protect you as long as you operate within your level of training. So again, it comes down to your previous training and your abilities. And if it gets to the point to where we do have to blow that whistle and say, okay, everybody out of the pool, our show, I need everybody to stand back. I would ask that please not get your feelings hurt and understand what's going on, because there's going to be a whole lot happening in a short amount of time. But we may need you to stay close for that initial witness interview. And if it rolls into a situation where, okay, we're beyond time to make a viable rescue, and now we have to shift gears and slow things down because it's now become a recovery, you may be called back for a second witness interview by somebody else. Probably going to ask you the same questions you answered before, but it's a fresh set of eyes and ears. So understand that process may have to, you know, if something escalates to that point, go into effect. So, any questions? Okay, something I should have started this evening with, and that is I appreciate every one of you being here tonight. The fact that you have stepped forward, number one, to volunteer for this type of work for this much pay, tells me a lot about you as a person. The fact that you are willing to come here tonight and listen to a guy like me ramble for a while tells me even more about you. You've got a desire to kind of do better, and I appreciate that, and I really respect that. Again, if this kind of spurs something in you, you want to go for more training, don't hesitate to contact TSRA. They offer some excellent training when it comes to water rescue, especially for paddlers. It's fantastic. Any questions?
Maybe a stupid question, but as I
I'm
say,
full of
there's
stupid
so many
answers.
stupid questions. Is there any sort of hierarchy? Are you the guy that's calling the shot?
Yes, there will be a hierarchy there, and let's kind of reverse things to define the hierarchy. Kind of going back to what I've covered tonight, you guys are the front line with these participants. Then behind you, the next line of defense, if you will, is going to be the boats that are on station. Supporting those boats, there's going to be me and one other rescue swimmer and diver on the dock. So now, let's reverse that. I'm going to be running command, if you will. And with communications, all of the boats, including the fireboat, we're going to be working off of a very specific channel of radio, and I'm going to be known as command. If somebody needs my attention, they're not going to call me by my radio number or by my name. It's going to be whatever to command. From that, the boats will be the next line, and then you guys. So if you need help, sound off, don't hesitate. It will come. So, but understand that I'll be down on the dock, kind of spotting the whole of it. Anybody else have any other questions, concerns?
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I may have missed you talking about this when I was responding to an email or something, but, all rate related, I can assure you. Did you talk about the different color swim caps that we offer and people?
I did not address that.
Okay.
Please, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have, so for the sprint racers, they'll be in white caps, but we also offer anyone that's doing a sprint race that says, hey, I want special attention on me, they get a bright pink cap. For the long course, they will be, the standard swimmer issue is a neon red cap, and anyone that wants extra attention will be in a silver cap. So, something to maybe keep your eyes peeled on those people, because they're already saying, hey, I'm not incredibly comfortable with this, but I'm still doing it, so.
So why and how is that important? At a glance, that tells us who is supposed to be on what raceway, in essence. So if I look up, knowing that the sprinters that are going from the dock out and down are in that white cap, we look up and see a white cap underneath the KDB bridge, somebody's lost. We have an issue. We need to address, specifically approach and address that swimmer. Because if there's a problem and that fight or flight instinct kicks in, they're not gonna be thinking rationally. And hopefully they're still at service. So watch for those caps being out of their lane, so to speak.